title's probably titled something like "Why Using the N-Word Feels Too Good," and I can't stop. But that's kind of a bad phrasing because we're kind of talking more in the hypothetical here. So again, anything I talk about, I don't actually use it, but I'm just saying, like, if in this hypothetical, obviously I can kind of simulate my emotions and what they would be if I did use something. But I could tell that if I did use the N-word, I would, I think there would be I would enjoy it. In the hypothetical, of course. And so it brings the question, like, what's more important? The joy that I get, that I like hypothetically get from using it, or, you know, the offense that people take, and is the offense even valid? So we have to kind of like comb through these different perspectives and like weigh them if it's even possible, because these things are hard to even. I don't know if quantify is the right word, but it's like suffering versus joy. And I think and there's different situations, like if you know when I'm using it, like hypothetically by myself. I'm not saying it to anyone. I'm just saying it to like one of my friends. Um, you know, singing a rap. I don't really listen to rap that much anymore, but like listen to rap and I'm saying that, or like, or I'm having conversations with people in my head who don't exist, or who do exist, but they're not actually there. Well, not in my head. I talk out loud to people. That part's not hypothetical, but I just don't know. Like I don't think that's not really morally wrong, because here's the thing: the reason that you would, I guess it has to do some digging on the morality, but it's like generally I would say something's immoral because of the outcome, and well, obviously I'm a proponent of moral relativism, so we're kind of like I'm just going off of generally what the different moral perspectives are. I do have a certain sense of morality. I just don't consider it objective. But I would say, like, for me personally, like it's like I'm kind of probably mostly a proponent of, in many ways, humanitarianism, whatever it's called, like trying to kind of minimize overall suffering. Although I do have some views that don't align with like a normal. Well, I don't think so. Anyway, so it's like a few weeks ago, like when in the hypothetical when I was using the N word, I was saying it to a friend, right, a white friend, and we weren't really saying it, and I was, there was no like racist intent, I would say. And I feel like, because here's the thing, like, you can't really argue that saying the word is bad, because yeah, you really can't if you use the word at all. So black people who use the N word and then claim racism when others use it, and in majority of situations, I would say, are obviously, number one, hypocritical. Kind of. I understand their perspective a bit, but if they can use it to each other and it's not racist, and then a white person can use it and it is racist, well, why? You'd have to either like say there's a racist intent, because it has to be intent. Because if two different people can use the exact same word, and one of them is perceived with one meaning while another is perceived like with another, like a black person uses it and it's perceived as chill, but a white person uses it and it's perceived as racist. Obviously, we're not judging the word off of the definition, because then they'd both be perceived the same. There's external factors, factors different than just the definition of the word, which or just it's like we have two different definitions for it. And so I would say, like, either And you can't say racist just because they're white. Like it, the difference in perception is due to ancestors. And here's the thing: you never. I'm not saying the legal system is perfect, but like if we're going off of like guilt or innocence, or like you just have to be off of this, but it's like I don't think if one of your cousins from a fucking 100, 200 years ago. I'm tripping, not that. Wait, whoa. Well, anyway, I don't fucking know history. Anyway, if one of your cousins from a long time ago, a distant person who's barely related to you, did fucking killed somebody, would you be prosecuted? Would you be blamed? Would any guilt be thrown towards you? No, because it was not your fault. You didn't choose to be to be related to them, and even if you did, it wouldn't really fucking matter because who you're related to doesn't have nothing to do with with your actions. And so, or morality. So obviously, through that we've established like, well, you can't fucking get mad, and there should be no shared factor that you can even use to perceive the use of a white person's inward differently. And I say that because if you're perceiving them differently when they use the word, or you're using like you're perceiving like their meaning of the word differently, there has to be some kind of factor to base that off of. And so if you can't base it off of ancestry, because you can't, because that would actually be racist, I would argue, then you have to base it off of something. And so like, what are we basing it off of? Like, you can base it off of intent. And so I understand it's kind of hard always to tell someone's intent. But if I'm saying it to a white friend, if I'm singing a song and I say the N-word like 7 or 8 times hypothetically, I don't I would argue in the majority of cases there's probably not racist intent. And even if there is, obviously that's not like the same situation because you're not saying it to people, but like, would it even matter? Because racist intent is, it's bad because it has bad effects on other people, but like, if there's no people who are being affected, like when you use the racist intent, is it even really bad? And I guess technically, but at the same time, I don't know how to judge things morally. So, so you'd have to judge it off of intent purely, or everyone just stops using it. Either everyone stops using it, or everyone's allowed to use it, or you have to judge it by intent. Because as we established, there can be no, factor to just automatically judge, a person using the N-word by their race, because that would actually be racist, I would argue, right? Or no, that wouldn't really be racist. That would because I think racism is like, it's like inferiority. Well, it has to be like unproven inferiority, because if there's a race that's actually inferior in certain traits, I'm not even saying there is because I haven't done research, and but if there is a race that's inferior in certain traits, then calling them inferior in those traits wouldn't be racist. It would just be telling the truth. And of course, if I was of that race, then I would probably get pissed off. Not gonna lie, but this is the truth. And I'm not even arguing for this, by the way. I actually don't know. I have heard Asians are a bit higher IQ, at least, so that would mean on average that white people and the rest of the races, at least, are technically on average inferior to Asians in terms of IQ, and that wouldn't be racist. You can say certain traits of a race are inferior, and it's not racist if there's truth backing that. But I'm not really like, I don't care that much about this stuff. But again, if I was at the same time, like, if I was a race, people were calling me inferior in some way, like, even if it was true, I wouldn't necessarily like it. But at the same time, like I wouldn't like it, but then I would also have like kind of a understanding that, well, as an individual, where do I place? And not even place, but like maybe my race on average, but an individual is not an average. So like, I would just judge myself. Of course. Anyway. So yeah, just judge that based off of intent, and honestly, that means it gets kind of messy. So just everyone should just stop fucking using it. Yeah, I don't like hypocrisy, and so I see black people using it and then getting mad at white people for using it, and I think you're hypocritical. Do I get that mad? You know, then again, at the same time, I get annoyed when people call me white boy. Like, I remember in freshman year, people would call me white boy, and it's like, bro. And I don't get that annoyed, but it kind of pisses me off a little bit, or like slightly annoys me, because like I feel like you're calling me boy, which is like low key slightly disrespectful. But like, because if I went to anyone, I was like, what's good, boy? Like, now I don't take it seriously, so maybe I'm just tripping, bro. But I just say either everyone uses slurs or no one uses them. And I suppose like just because you're arguing that like just because an evil exists, just because black people not black people are evil, but like when I say evil, I'm just saying like just because some like a lot of black people use the N-word doesn't mean we should like take part in using it as well. Which is like, and that's what I mean by the evil. It's just using it. So if you want to argue that no one should use it, then you just shouldn't use it, even though some people do the thing that you have determined you're not going to do. Like just because evil exists doesn't mean it's okay to take part in it. But I mean, I kind of understand. Like, if I was black, and I would probably have I could see how I'd have like an attitude where I might end up using it. Like, I can kind of sympathize a bit. Not because I've gone through it or anything, but like when I put myself in that perspective of like, I can to a certain extent sympathize. I'm not like, I kind of understand emotionally. I feel like emotions don't always line up with logic, so maybe that was kind of an aggressive statement. Actually, it was kind of meant to be aggressive. But it would also be calling out myself too in many cases. So it's not like this is gonna get messy in the fucking comment section. But I mean, the only like times that I like hypothetically use it are just like, well, in this hypothetical, I actually use it quite a bit. Yeah. When I face reveal one day, I'm gonna get like slimed out in the street. Cause I'm like, oh, like you hypothetically used the N-word, bro. They're gonna be like, oh, you admitted to using it, and I'm gonna be like, no, it's like a hypothetical. I never actually used it. Holy bullshit video. I don't even know. I'm just kind of like yapping here. Not that was kind of a low IQ statement right there, possibly. I don't even know. I don't fucking know. I'm tired, bro. I'm too tired for this shit. And but I actually do emotionally understand the perspective of even like using it and not liking other people, like white people using it. I kind of understand it now because I've thought through it a bit, but I don't know if I necessarily see the logic, and I still see more hypocrisy. So like if I was black, I just wouldn't use it because I would view myself as hypocritical, because I kind of actually find it a factor to base it off of behind intent, and then in many cases they're not judging based off of intent. Even white people too, by the way. But I'm talking more calling about the hypocrisy of black people for using the N-word and getting mad at others for using it. But at the same time, again, I can kind of understand. So I'm not fully on one side, but I do dislike hypocrisy. It's probably the thing I find most annoying in this world. Maybe. Yeah.